Have you ever wondered why your journey feels harder than others? Why the trials you face seem relentless, like the weight of the world is on your shoulders? Let me tell you something today, you are not being punished, you are being prepared. The hardest battles are reserved for the strongest warriors. Good day, friends. There are moments in life when it feels like we are walking through fire, moments when we question our purpose, and moments when we're tempted to give up. But let me remind you, only the chosen ones are entrusted with the deepest spiritual tests. These challenges aren't meant to break you, but to build you. If you're going through it right now, hold on. You are being refined, elevated, and strengthened for a greater purpose. The first test is patience, waiting on God's timing. It's not easy to stand still when everything inside of you wants to run. But the chosen ones learn to trust the process, knowing that delays aren't denials. What is meant for you will find you in its perfect time. Then there's the test of isolation. It's a season when you feel alone, when the people you relied on seem distant. This isn't rejection, it's redirection. Sometimes God has to separate you to strengthen you. Isolation is where you find clarity, and it's often where He speaks the loudest. Another test is forgiveness. Oh, how hard it is to forgive those who have visited you. But forgiveness isn't about freeing them, it's about freeing you. Chosen ones know that holding on to bitterness only weighs them down. When you forgive, you rise above. Next comes the test of trust. Life throws curveballs, and sometimes the path ahead is unclear. But faith is trusting even when you can't see. It's believing that the one who brought you this far won't leave you now. Finally, there's the test of selflessness. It's easy to focus on our own desires, but the chosen ones are called to something higher. They serve others, give generously, and live with love. When you put others first, you reflect the very heart of God. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, remember this: the tests you endure are proof of the greatness within you. Diamonds are only formed under pressure, and gold is purified in fire. The harder the test, the greater the calling. You are chosen, set apart, and equipped to not just survive these trials, but to thrive through them. Stay strong. Your breakthrough is coming. The victory is already yours. Keep the faith and walk boldly, knowing that the hardest tests are only given to the strongest hearts. You've got this. Patience is one of the hardest spiritual tests because it challenges us to surrender control and trust in a plan we cannot fully see. It's in those seasons of waiting when prayers feel unanswered and progress seems stalled that we're tempted to question our path. Have you ever felt like you were running out of time, like life was passing you by? That's the pressure of impatience creeping in. But the truth is, waiting doesn't mean wasting. The time you spend waiting is often the time you're being prepared for what's ahead. It's in the waiting that your faith grows roots deep enough to hold the weight of the blessings that are coming. What makes this test so difficult is that it goes against human nature. We live in a world of instant gratification where everything is a click away. Yet spiritual growth doesn't follow the world's timeline. Imagine planting a seed. You water it, nurture it, and give it sunlight, but you don't see growth right away. It's beneath the soil, hidden from view, where the real work is happening. Patience teaches us to trust the unseen, to believe that just because we can't see progress doesn't mean nothing is happening. Every delay has a purpose, and every season of waiting has a reason. Patience also stretches our character. It's easy to remain faithful when things are going your way, but what about when the doors stay closed? The test of patience reveals what's in your heart. It shows whether you're willing to trust even when the answer is not yet. Many people give up right before their breakthrough because they let frustration take over. But the chosen ones know that patience isn't passive, it's active faith. It's continuing to show up, to pray, to work, and to believe, even when the results are nowhere in sight. Lastly, the beauty of patience is that it allows you to receive your blessings at the right time. Sometimes what we want now isn't what we're ready for. If you're handed a gift too soon, you might mishandle it, but when it arrives in God's perfect timing, you'll be ready to embrace it fully. Think of the seasons. Winter always turns into spring, but never before its time. In the same way, your waiting will turn into fulfillment. Patience isn't just about enduring the wait. It's about trusting the process and knowing that the delays are working for your good. Isolation often serves as a season of transformation. Think about the caterpillar in its cocoon. From the outside, it looks as if nothing is happening. It's sealed off, hidden from the world, and seemingly stuck in one place. But inside that cocoon, incredible change is taking place. Isolation is your cocoon. It's where you shed the old layers of your life, habits and thoughts that no longer serve you. It's where you grow stronger, gain clarity, and prepare to emerge as something completely new. Without the season of isolation, the transformation wouldn't happen. This test also reveals who and what truly matters. In the absence of constant noise, you begin to see the relationships, activities, and commitments that drains you without adding value. Isolation forces you to face yourself, your fears, your doubts, your dreams. While it can feel lonely, it's also liberating. In this sacred space, you learn to depend not on the approval of others, but on the strength that comes from within. Many of the world's greatest leaders, thinkers, and spiritual figures endured seasons of isolation. They were pulled away from the crowd so they could find their purpose and hear their calling more clearly. Finally, isolation equips you for what's next. When you reemerge from this test, you are not the same person you were before. The lessons you learn in solitude become the foundation for your future. Moses was isolated in the desert before leading his people. Jesus often withdrew to lonely places to pray. You see, isolation is not the end, it's the beginning of something greater. It's a sign that you're being set apart for a divine purpose. When you embrace the test of isolation, you'll find that what feels like emptiness is actually making room for a life that is fuller, richer, and more aligned with who you are meant to be. The test of forgiveness is one of the most difficult spiritual challenges we can face because it calls us to let go of hurt, betrayal, and pain that can seem unforgivable. It's easy to say forgive, but much harder to actually do. When someone wrongs us, our natural instinct is to hold on to the hurt, to protect ourselves by building walls. But in reality, unforgiveness keeps us shackled to the very thing we're trying to escape. Holding on to resentment poisons our hearts and limits our ability to move forward. Forgiveness is not for the person who wronged you, it's for you. It's about setting yourself free. Forgiveness is also about healing. Every time you forgive, you take a step toward emotional and spiritual wholeness. Think of forgiveness like removing splinters from your soul. At first, it may hurt. The process of healing often does. But as you let go of grudges and bitterness, the wound begins to heal. You open yourself up to peace, joy, and freedom that were otherwise blocked by anger and resentment. It's through forgiveness that you allow the love and grace that God offers to flow through you, filling the empty spaces and mending what was broken. Finally, forgiveness is a reflection of God's grace in our lives. Think about how many times God has forgiven you, how many times you've fallen short, and yet His love and mercy never waver. When we forgive others, we are practicing this same grace. It's not easy, but it is necessary for spiritual growth. The test of forgiveness teaches us to become more like the divine, to show mercy where it's not deserved, to extend love where it's not reciprocated, and to let go of the things that weigh us down. When you pass this test, you're not only healing yourself, but you're also aligning your heart with the higher call to love and forgive as you've been loved and forgiven. The test of trust is one of the most profound spiritual challenges we will ever face. It pushes us to let go of our need to control and to place our faith in something greater than ourselves. Life often doesn't go according to our plans. We encounter unexpected setbacks, doors close, and sometimes it feels like the world is against us. In those moments, the question becomes, can you trust even when things don't make sense? Trust is more than just believing things will turn out well. It's about surrendering the outcome to God, knowing that His plan is always greater than our own. What makes the test of trust so difficult is that it requires us to walk by faith and not by sight. When everything around us seems uncertain, it's tempting to take matters into our own hands, to rush ahead with our own solutions. But trust demands patience. It means standing still even when the road ahead is unclear and having the confidence that God is working behind the scenes. The chosen ones know that trust isn't just about believing when everything is going well. It's about holding on to faith when the path is unclear, when the storms rage, and when the promises feel far away. Lastly, trust is the key to unlocking divine peace and joy. When we fully trust in God's plan, we are free from anxiety, fear, and doubt. Trust brings rest to our souls. When we try to control everything, we live in constant tension. But when we trust, we release that burden and allow ourselves to be led. It's through trust that we experience true freedom, the freedom to let go of worry, to walk in confidence, and to know that no matter what happens, God's got us. The test of trust refines us, purifies our faith, and prepares us for greater blessings ahead. Trusting in God may not always be easy, but it will always lead to the peace that surpasses all understanding. The test of selflessness is one of the most transformative spiritual challenges, as it calls us to step outside of ourselves and prioritize others above our own needs and desires. In a world that often emphasizes individual success, personal gain, and self-promotion, selflessness is counterintuitive and requires great sacrifice. But it is in choosing to serve others, even when it costs us something, that we grow into the person we are truly meant to be. This test challenges us to reflect the heart of God, who gave selflessly to the world, even when it meant laying down His life. The question becomes, are you willing to let go of your own agenda for the sake of others? Selflessness is not just about giving when it's easy or convenient. It's about choosing to serve when it's difficult, when it interrupts your plans, or when it requires something of you that you'd rather not give. Whether it's offering a helping hand to someone in need, listening to someone who is hurting, or sacrificing your time and resources for the well-being of others. The test of selflessness reveals whether we are truly living from a place of love or from a place of selfishness. The chosen ones know that true greatness is found not in what we accumulate for ourselves, but in what we give away. The more we give, the more we receive, not necessarily in material blessings, but in spiritual rewards and inner peace. Finally, the test of selflessness leads to the greatest reward, spiritual growth, and the transformation of our hearts. As we give without expecting anything in return, we become more like Christ. The more we love and serve others, the more we reflect His image. This test of selflessness is not easy. It challenges our pride, our desire for control, and our comfort zones. But it is through selflessness that we are purified. It teaches us the value of putting others first, of loving without limits, and of living with an open heart. When we pass this test, we step into a deeper understanding of love, kindness, and grace, and our lives become a living testimony of God's goodness.